Good afternoon, children.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
We completed human male reproductive system and we started with female reproductive system. And by the way, I haven't forgotten about oral test. Hope you too haven't forgotten. Last 2 days we had revision, but I was not satisfied. So today, towards the end, today we are having 45 minutes only. After that, 10 minutes have already gone. So if time permits, I will take revision. If not, we'll take it the next day. So as you are getting more and more days, you should make it more thorough. Okay, because within this 45 minutes, I don't want to spare time for the test. So next class, definitely revise it once more and come. Okay, I haven't forgotten. So we were learning about female reproductive system. We just started with that, paired ovaries, functions of ovaries, structure, all that we discussed, and uterus. About uterus, the different parts of the uterus also we learned, but the picture was not there. So from that we will start. Along with the revision of the previous chapter, daily portions also you should learn, children. Uterus, or else we call it as womb. It looks like an inverted pear. All that we had discussed, but slide was not there. So that's why I'm repeating it again. And it is supported by ligaments. So uterus is attached to the wall of the pelvis or pelvic region by means of ligaments. And it has got three parts. As you can see in the figure, upper fundus, you can see upper fundus, then the and middle body and terminal cervix. Cervix, fundus, body, and cervix. Cervix leads into vagina. Okay. Hope you understood. Once again, a womb or uterus looks like an inverted pear, and it is supported by, it is with the help of ligaments that they are attached to the pelvic wall. It can be differentiated into three parts: upper fundus, middle body, and terminal cervix. Cervix leads into vagina. The uterine wall is provided with, the wall of the uterus is provided with three layers. This also we have discussed. Perimetrium, it is the external layer, outermost layer, and it is thin and membranous. Then there is myometrium, which is the middle layer, endometrium, innermost layer. And perimetrium is thin and membranous, whereas the middle layer is thick and made up of smooth muscles, and we call it as myometrium. M for middle, M for myometrium. And it exhibits, it is this particular layer that exhibits vigorous contractions at the time of childbirth. At the time of delivery of the baby, it is these muscles that exhibit contraction and relaxation, enabling or facilitating the baby to be delivered. And the innermost layer is endometrium. And during menstrual cycle, it is the endometrium which will undergo cyclic changes. You have learned that anticipating a fertilized egg, uterine lining will become thick and spongy. It will get richly supplied with blood vessels to nourish the fertilized egg. And in case the fertilization doesn't take place, the endometrial lining will break, and the blood, it will come out through the vagina as blood and mucus. So it is the endometrium which undergoes cyclic changes during menstrual cycle. So the three parts of uterus are upper fundus, middle body, terminal cervix. Cervix leads into vagina, and uterine wall is made up of three layers: perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium. Now, next is about vagina. Uterus opens into vagina through cervix, through a narrow cervix. Already I told you cervix leads into vagina. So, uterus is opening into vagina through this cervix. So, uterus is opening into vagina through cervix. So, that connects uterus with vagina. The cavity of the cervix is known as cervical canal. The cavity of cervix. Cervix encloses a space, a canal, and that cavity or space you call it is cervical canal. And cervical canal along with vagina together we call it as birth canal. Cervix encloses a canal, we call it as cervical canal. The space enclosed by cervix is known as cervical canal. Cervical canal plus vagina. Together we call it as birth canal. What is the reason? Why do you call it as birth canal? Anybody? Why the name birth canal? I told you cervical canal together with vagina is known as birth canal. What is the reason?
The delivery of the baby.
It is through this that the baby is being delivered. That's why you call it as in case of normal delivery. You know that delivery can take place by surgery also, by cesarean. Also, it can take place. But when the delivery is normal, the baby will be delivered through the birth canal. Next, external genitalia. So we learned that human reproductive system consists of paired ovaries, accessory ducts, and external genitalia. So we have covered the accessory ducts, paired ovaries, etc. Now we are proceeding to external genitalia. External genitalia means external genital organs. It consists of external genitalia, consists of different structures or different parts like mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. These are the different parts that make up external genitalia. In human female, the external genital organs include mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, then hymen and clitoris. So let us see each structure. We'll begin with mons pubis. Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue. It's a cushion of fatty tissue and it is this region that is covered by pubic hair. So the first part or the first structure that comes under external genitalia in human females is mons pubis. It is a cushion of fatty tissue and it is covered by skin provided with hair. So hairy skin covers mons pubis. Now moving on to the next part, labia majora. Next two parts are labia majora minora. From that itself, you can understand one is bigger and the other one is smaller. Labia majora. This labia majora, these are large fleshy skin folds extending from mons pubis, and this is the region that surrounds the vaginal opening. So mons pubis, labia majora, these are large folds of skin extending from mons pubis, and this surrounds the vaginal opening. Now proceeding to the next part, labia minora. These are small. Both of them are folds of skin, but labia majora, these are large folds of skin, and labia minora, these are small paired folds of tissue, and they lie beneath labia majora. Labia majora, beneath that labia minora is present, and the difference between both, the main difference is that one is bigger folds of skin, large folds of skin, and minora, small folds of skin. I'll repeat once again. We were discussing about the external genitalia in human females. It includes mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Starting with the first one, mons pubis. It's a cushion of fatty tissue. It's covered by skin and pubic hair. And beneath that, labia majora. And labia majora are large folds of skin, and it extends from mons pubis, and it can be seen surrounding the vaginal opening. It surrounds or encloses the vaginal opening. So beneath labia majora, small folds of skin are present. You call it as labia minora. Okay. Now moving on to the next part, that is hymen. Hymen is a membranous structure. It's a membrane, and this partially covers the vaginal opening. So there is a covering, or vaginal opening is partially covered by means of this membrane. You call it as hymen, and it is often damaged or it gets torn during the first coitus or first sexual intercourse. And because of this reason, it is usually considered as a mark of virginity. People usually consider the presence of hymen as an indicator of virginity. But actually, that is not true. It is not only during sexual intercourse that the hymen gets damaged. If the lady or if the girl is an athlete, while taking part in some athletics or while riding a horse or cycling, or by means of some, maybe the girl has fallen down from a great height, or some sudden jerks or shock. So due to different reasons, this hymen can get damaged, not only during sexual intercourse. So because of these reasons, we cannot consider the presence of hymen on this vaginal opening as a reliable indicator of virginity. Okay, and at the same time, uh, in some females, in some ladies, even after the sexual intercourse, hymen persist. So in everyone, hymen is not getting damaged by means of sexual intercourse, and always hymen is not only damaged by this reason, there can be many other reasons why it gets damaged. So what we can conclude is the presence of hymen cannot be considered as a reliable indicator of virginity. It may also be broken by a sudden fall or a jolt. Jolt means some shock. Insertion of vaginal tampons. Vaginal tampon is used during menstrual cycle or during menstruation. It is used, and it just like sanitary pads, but sanitary pads are placed outside, whereas tampons will be inserted into the vaginal opening. So when it is being inserted into the vaginal opening, this hymen can get damaged. Then active participation in sport events, horse riding, cycling, in all these activities, it may get damaged. So in some women, hymen can even persist after coitus or intercourse. So the hymen is not a reliable indicator of virginity. Okay. Hope you have understood what we discussed about hymen. Next is
Ma'am,
clitoris.
ma'am,
Clitoris is a tiny
ma'am,
finger-shaped. Yes.
what happens if the hymen is destroyed or damaged?
What happens if hymen is damaged? Nothing will happen. Okay. What I told is this is a membrane like covering, and it was considered presently. I don't know. Maybe still some people believe so. It was considered as a mark of virginity. And just a minute. Next is about clitoris. Clitoris is a tiny finger-shaped structure, and this is located at the upper junction of two labia minora above the urethral opening. So we discussed about the other different parts coming under external genitalia, and the last part is clitoris. Clitoris is a small finger-shaped structure, and it is located at the upper junction of two labia minora, and it is lying above the urethral opening, and it is a highly sensitive organ. Once again, it's a tiny finger-shaped structure present above the urethral opening at the junction of two labia minora, and it is a highly sensitive organ. Okay, any doubt you want me to repeat? Quick recap we'll have. We started with uterus, the different parts of uterus, upper fundus, middle body, and terminal cervix. Cervix leads into vagina. Then we learned about uterus. As I told you, it's the wall of the uterus has got 3 layers. Outermost layer is perimetrium, middle myometrium, and the innermost one is endometrium. And the functions of myometrium and endometrium. Myometrium is the one which exhibits, this layer, the thick muscular layer, thick layer made up of smooth muscles, exhibit vigorous contractions, facilitating childbirth, whereas endometrium undergoes cyclic changes during menstrual cycle. And after that, we started discussing about vagina. Vagina, uterus and vagina are connected by means of a narrow cervix. So cervix connects uterus to vagina, and the cavity of the cervix, you call it a cervical canal. Cervical canal along with vagina, you call it as birth canal. The reason is it is through this canal that the baby is getting delivered. And then we started with external genitalia, and I told the different structures that make up external genitalia are mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. And mons pubis, as we already learned, it's a cushion of fatty tissue covered by skin and pubic hair. The labia majora, large fleshy folds of skin, and this is seen extending from mons pubis, and it surrounds the vaginal opening. And beneath labia majora, smaller folds of skin are present, and you call it as labia minora. And just now we learned that clitoris, it's a tiny finger-shaped structure, and its location is at the junction, upper junction of these labia minora, which is a very sensitive organ. And then we discussed about hymen. Hymen is a membrane which partially covers the vaginal opening. And earlier it was considered as a mark of virginity, but now we know that this is not a reliable indicator of virginity, because not only during the first sexual intercourse that the hymen can get damaged, but also when the lady gets involved in some sports events athletics, or even horse riding, cycling, or while inserting vaginal tampons in place of sanitary napkins, it can get torn. Okay, so with that, we have completed the external genitalia coming under human female reproductive system. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No.
No, ma'am.
Then we can summarize. Only 15 joined, 14. Okay, quickly summarize. Gayatri can start from external genitalia.
There are 5
Mm.
parts. I mean, yeah,
Which are the different parts?
pubis, labia majora, labia minora,
And clitoris. Okay. Then Rijas, the first part, mons pubis.
Mons pubis is a cushion of fatty tissue covered by pubic hair.
Okay. Anna, next.
Labia majora is a large fleshy
Folds of
in extending down from mons pubis.
you're saying about labia majora. Okay. Next one, labia minora, Donna.
Small paired folds of tissue that is present under the labia majora.
Okay. Okay. Next, hymen, Steffi.
It is a small membrane partially covering the vagina, which is usually torn from the first coitus.
Okay. Then the last one, Malavika.
Clitoris, a tiny finger-like structure which lies at the upper junction of 2 labia minora above the urethral opening.
Okay. So we'll continue. So next we are going to learn about mammary glands. So along with we already learned about different parts of human female reproductive system, and that plus mammary glands play an important role helping the female to carry out different important functions in her life. So mammary glands contain a pair of mammary glands are present. It is made up of glandular tissue and fat. So mammary glands, a pair of mammary glands are present. You know that mammary glands are found in all mammals, and these are made up of glandular tissue and fat. And glandular tissue of each breast has got 15 to 20 mammary lobes. So these terms you should be thorough because you're going to learn about so many terms starting with mammary. Mammary lobes, mammary ducts, then mammary glands. So all these lobule, then mammary alveoli, mammary tubule. So these you should be thorough with all these terms. So glandular tissue and fat make up the mammary glands, and the glandular tissue consists of 15 to 20 mammary lobes. You can see in the picture mammary lobes, and these mammary lobes are made up of clusters of cells which you call as mammary alveoli. So here you can see mammary alveoli, so many small bubble-like structures. You call it as alveoli. Similar structure you have learned in respiratory system. What is the function of the alveoli there in respiratory system?
Exchange of gases.
So it is at the alveoli that the exchange of gases takes place in lungs. So here mammary alveoli are present, and they are concerned with the secretion of milk. Once again, I'll repeat. Mammary glands are made up of glandular tissue and fat, and the glandular tissue consists of 15 to 20 mammary lobes. And the mammary lobes consist of mammary alveoli. Clusters of alveoli are present, and these alveoli, they will secrete milk, and this milk will be stored in the lumen of mammary alveoli. Okay? Mammary glands, mammary lobes, mammary alveoli. So these terms you should not get confused. Mammary glands are having 15, each mammary gland is having 15 to 20 mammary lobes. And what makes up mammary lobes? Mammary alveoli, clusters of mammary alveoli, and they secrete milk, and this milk will be stored where? In the lumen of alveoli. And these alveoli open into mammary tubules. See the figure? Mammary alveoli, and that is leading into some tubules. Mammary tubules. So mammary alveoli open into mammary tubules, and several such tubules, or the tubules of each lobe, will join together and form a mammary duct. It will form a mammary duct. So mammary alveoli open into mammary tubule. Mammary tubules will join together and form mammary duct. Several mammary ducts will join together to form a wider mammary ampulla. Okay, so these mammary ducts will join. Lactiferous sinus, you don't have to learn that name. You need to know only mammary ampulla. So mammary ampulla, mammary ducts join into a wider portion. Here you can see a little wider part when compared to the other region, other ducts. So this wider part, you call it as mammary ampulla. And this mammary ampulla is connected to lactiferous duct. And it is through the lactiferous duct that the milk is sucked out by the baby. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Alveoli. From the beginning, I will say mammary glands are made up of glandular tissue and fat. And the glandular tissue of each mammary gland consists of 15 to 20 lobes. Okay. 15 to 20 lobes are present. Here you can find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them you can find. And these lobes are made up of clusters of cells, specialized cells. You call them as mammary alveoli. And what is the function of mammary alveoli? It will secrete milk. And where is it stored? In the lumen of alveoli. And then these alveoli open into, just see the figure. These alveoli will open into some tube-like structures. Tubule means small tubes. So they join or they open into mammary tubules. Here you can see small branches. See, small tubules you can see. They are joining to form a mammary duct. So these small tubules are known as mammary tubules. Mammary alveoli open into small tubules. You call it as mammary tubules. And the tubules of each lobe will join together and form mammary duct. Alveoli, tubule, duct. And several mammary ducts will join together and form a wider region that is known as mammary ampulla. And this mammary ampulla is connected to lactiferous duct from where the milk will be sucked out. Okay, clear? Clear? You want me to repeat again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, from where? From the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mammary glands only, no, Steffi? Only that.
Yes.
Okay. A pair of mammary glands, just like in any other mammals, human females are also provided with a pair of mammary glands, which is made up of glandular tissue and fat. And the glandular tissue of each mammary gland consists of 15 to 20 mammary lobes. And each lobe, as you can see in the picture, consists of some specialized cells, clusters of specialized cells. You call it as mammary alveoli. Okay, mammary lobe, mammary alveoli. And mammary alveoli secrete milk, which will be stored in the lumen of alveoli. Okay, so lobe and alveoli. Now, these alveoli will open into mammary tubules. Okay, lobes, alveoli, now tubule. It opens into tubules. Several such tubules of each lobe will join together and form mammary duct. And several mammary ducts join together and form mammary ampulla, which is connected to lactiferous duct, from where the milk will be sucked out. Okay. So those terms you should not get confused. Mammary lobes, alveoli, mammary tubule, mammary duct, and mammary ampulla. And finally, lactiferous duct. 5, 6 terms you learned. Steffi, is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody is having doubt, no? Okay. Now we can have a quick recap. Nia, you may start.
Mammary glands contain a pair of mammary glands contain glandular tissues and fat.
Then Punya, next.
Glandular tissue contains 15 to 20 mammary lobes.
Mammary? Lobes. Okay. And what these lobes are made up of? Meenakshi?
Cluster of cells.
What do you call those cells?
Alveoli.
Nevin, what is the function of these alveoli?
It secretes milk.
And where is it stored?
Lumen of alveoli.
In the lumen of alveoli. Then what is next? Michael?
The alveoli open into mammary tubules.
Repeat once again.
The mammary
Michael, continue.
the alveoli open into mammary tubules.
Tubule.
The
Then,
tubules
Gayatri? These tubules will, many such tubules will,
Open into mammary duct.
of each lobe will join and form a mammary duct. And Malavika, next.
Several mammary ducts join and forms a mammary ampulla.
Mammary ampulla, which is connected to which duct?
Lactiferous.
Lactiferous duct. Okay, we'll wind up. So next class, again, I'm reminding you, chapter 2 revision. Okay. So thank you, children.
Thank
See you next class.